All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with another episode of the Authority Project. And we have Payman Taei here. He is here, he says, to help us go into uncharted territories and succeed, or something to that nature. Is that right, Payman?
Yeah, that's something along that lines. I'm going to fill in the blanks as we go along, but that's pretty good.
All right, well, we shall see. We shall see on this
Yeah.
episode of the Authority Project.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Authority Project, and I am honored to have Payman Taei here in the building, and we are going to be talking about going into uncharted territories. I want to know what this is all about. Before we even dive into that at all, please tell us, Payman, who you are personally and then professionally.
Sure. So I'm a husband of a beautiful wife and a 4-year-old. And professionally speaking, I'm the founder of Visme, and it is the all-in-one visual design tool. So allows people to create all types of content, not just graphics, not just presentations, but those and everything between. And my team and I are on a mission to empower everybody to create better content, not just okay content, without very little experience, and to be able to do it better than they can do it in any other tool. That's what we're doing.
Great. And I think that answers my second question, which is, what is your current project? which is must be always Disney. Am I correct about that, or is there something else that you want to share? Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's I live and breathe it day and night. So that's basically my primary passion that I spend my career on. It's my hobby. It's also my my work. So I think combining the two together is a lot more fun than having two separate ones.
Awesome. I love it. So let's dive into one last question before we get into it for real. What is your daily routine?
Well, let's see here. Wake up, check some messages, spend some time with my son, eat a quick breakfast, go to work, come to the office. It's pretty nearby, about 10 minutes away, and so on. Most of us are social distancing for COVID, but there's just like 3 of us here in the office, 4 of us. Everybody else, actually, most of our team is remote all over the world. Wow. But of course, there's a lot less people now in the main office than before. And then this will go on for another, 2 or 3 hours. It's 4 p.m. Eastern here. Probably be here till 6, 7 p.m. Go home, spend some time with my son and family, and then do a late night workout when the gym's empty.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay, I like that.
Go late night session and then back, get some sleep and rinse and repeat.
I love it. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. So, now, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. So get ready for this. So
sure.
Can you dive into your story just a bit? I mean, your journey's been pretty easy, right? Am I right about that or no?
Easy? No, not easy. Easy is for babies, No, it's been tough as with running any business and so on, especially and I think particularly when it's a self-funded company that you start from nothing and brick by brick you build, and then I think it just feels a lot more, special, So, but no, it's not my first venture in essence. This all came about as me running a web agency, which I kind of started to pay my way through college, and we're talking about the early 2000s when the dot-com bubble burst and so on. That's when I started. I was in college. And then, long story short, out of that small agency over the years, I saw 2 things. One was my own frustration with using different software to create different types of content as a professional. So I would use Adobe, I would use PowerPoint and Keynote, whether it's for creating graphics for a website or creating short animations or creating, the slide deck for a client and so on. And then also seeing the same thing with clients who would have to come to me and other designers just to create if they wanted to create something that looks better than just their average PowerPoint or a little graphic they want to drop on their site and so on. For all of those, they had to go to a professional because there is no software or they couldn't do it themselves. So I put 2 and 2 together. And over the last 7 years, we've been working heavily on making and solving both problems. One, software that allows people to create different types of content with one learning curve, a short learning curve. And then 2, to be able to do it in the least amount of time possible and be able to take it up a few notches. Because the problem that I see as a lot of the design tools out there, they're either very dumbed down to give you a quick entry point, very quick end result. There's some good ones out there. But then the second that you want to go a little bit further, you want to add some just beyond a basic animation, or you want to add some interactivity, you want to have call to actions, you want to just be able to have access to assets that you cannot find anywhere else, you fall short. So then the next step above that is to go to something like an Adobe suite of products, which are really meant for me and other designers and so on in the past. Right. And those are great products, but they're really for the top professionals. We are bridging the gap between the two. That's what our product is. That's what it's all about.
I love it. He's talking like a true entrepreneur there. You see, so and we'll talk about that later about competitors. So stay tuned with that, everybody. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about these uncharted territories. Now, I'm going to go with your original title because it was a tad bit long, but I want everybody to know what he was originally wanted to say to you at first. So here's the original title: "Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, the land of the brave, where you take on risk in uncharted territories and create your own faith." What do you mean by that, sir?
Well, what I mean by that is that you, with entrepreneurship or business in general, often, when you're in school, I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for like biology and so on. And I actually like the fact of explaining it from a more, evolutionary biological standpoint versus like business speak. You go to business school, it's where, hey, you make a business plan and you make rules and you go to step 1 and step 2 and step 3. And then everything will go along that way because you're planning everything. Okay. Well, let me give you a reality check. That's a bunch of BS, man, because, it's great to have a plan, but everything's going to change along the way. That's just the way it works. It's almost like telling, an NBA player and you're going to go in and you're going to know every single move. No, it has to come naturally and you pivot along the way. That's how business works, I think, for most people. Yeah. And so and because of that, for those that do way too much planning, they end up usually getting burned because things don't go along the way they want. And if they're not open to change, I've been guilty of that myself. And then additionally, you're going to get beat down. You're going to get, slapped around. You're going to lose a lot. You're going to get frustrated a lot. And you got to keep getting back up. And so when I say the land of the brave, it's because, get ready because you're going to have hardships all along the way. Yeah. But then you make your own destiny. You decide how far you want to go. The failures are on you, not anybody else. And, sometimes you get lucky in terms, but you will have more luck if you, find your way and you solve the problems. I think that's what luck in essence is. And sometimes you are, at the right time, at the right place. But that's what people sometimes think, that it's like a lottery. Hey, Mike Zuckerberg, and your Snapchat founder and everybody else, man, they made it big. They got lucky. I think they would have been very successful to begin with. The question is, how big or how much smaller would they have been? One way or another, those founders would have had success. So it wasn't about luck, but it was about how big the opportunity came.
Now, do you think I like how you're talking about luck, and I don't want to dive into that a little bit because it wasn't one of my original questions, but let's go with it. Do you believe that luck comes more when you're positioning yourself in the right way, or positioning yourself at the right time? You think luck comes to you faster?
I think it's an opportunity. I just, that's how I look at it. I mean, who am I to say? But I mean, you hear it all the time, excerpts from, like I said, Jeff Bezos and so on. And he says, I'm lucky, but lucky in that, the right time, the right product, everything else. But I mean, look, I think, he could have been worth, a company worth $10 billion versus $1.7 trillion.
Right.
It could have been worth a lot anyway. It's just to how big it became. I think it's about, I mean, you have opportunities, you take it, but, finding little areas that allows you to find and to kind of go through those paths, that's what I think you call it. And that, the other part is about like finding signs, like having being there, and two, being open to what comes in front of you, and sometimes being able to detect which way to go. That's kind of creating your path as well. So that's how I would put it.
So is there a formula right now as you see it? Is there a formula for success as you currently are looking at it right now in your life, that as where you are with your company and what you've done over the years? What do you see as these are the steps that they should take if people listen to right now?
I mean, here's the formula that I know, and maybe somebody knows it better, but for me is persistence, hard work, and, just doing it and figuring little opportunities and making them better, and focusing on, only so many things at once. But yet at the same time, knowing that just doing one thing itself doesn't work. By one thing, I don't mean like you're starting like 3-4 different companies. I mean, you start a business, you need to focus on it. And I think what I would, if somebody's starting to start out, I think, especially in this generation, and by no means I'm struggling every day, up, open today, yesterday, it's a struggle. It's hard. It's not easy. And it's not like, we're still trying to make it. And it's somebody would look at us and say, you made it, man. You guys have 8 million users and all that other stuff. I look at it as far as the ones that are 50 and 100 and so on. So you're always, trying to go up that way. But for those that are starting out, maybe the biggest step I can say is, find something that you really like. And sometimes you need to do something and realize if you really like it or not. But on the other side, it also would be is you have to really keep working on it. We've been working on Visme for 7 years now. And, it's been a 7-year journey. And there's going to be years down the road. And I think there's others who do something for like 3 months or 6 months. They're like, we have no traction. If this is not working out, man, this is not going to be a big idea. What's the next idea? What's the next thing going to work? They're jumping in hoops. And then 10 years later, 5 years later, they're still trying to freaking figure it out. Look, sometimes, I know that in a software world, in a business world, I say you need to create an MVP, a minimum viable product, to prove that there is something there. I agree with that. But if that MVP is a piece of crap and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, it's 100% not going to work. So you're going to have to work to some degree to see what it is and what works. And then you also have to pivot along the way. Like, for example, Visme wasn't in its original form, wasn't an all-in-one design tool to begin with. Initially, it was supposed to be to create animations for designers like myself as a starting point. Then that pivoted. And now we went back to serving all the non-designers and allowing people to create different types of content. And now we're coming back and adding the animation part of it, the interactivity part of it, back into the formula. So it's still the same product, but we shifted and we pivoted and we found what was going to work for us along the way.
Now, is that based on feedback or based on, and I guess we're going to go right to it now, to this question. Like,
it was based on.
How did you carve out this niche that you think
small? We had a little small focus group, 15, 20 people locally then. put this MVP in front of them, which was pretty damn buggy and problematic, put it in front of them to see what they think of it. And it just happens that almost none of them were designers. So that's not what they were trying to do. So maybe that was a mistake. But I'm glad that was the case because, otherwise we would have just kept working on it and would have just been really geared towards the designers. But design community is much smaller than everybody else. Think about all the professionals who are there to create interactive presentations. They don't want to just create the, little pitch deck that's just nothing. It looks like everybody else's PowerPoint, but they want to be able to, have it nice and be pretty and professional, but yet also serve the business purpose. So yeah, that's kind of where we hit it.
Now, I like how you say that you got the feedback. Was that a struggle for you? Because I know I have a friend who was like that, where he's like, I told him, a long time ago, like put out the stuff that, for beginners. And he was like, no, I want to put out the stuff that, I would do, and it's like, was there a struggle in there? Like, this is not what I wanted to do in the first
Still
place.
is. Yeah, it has been. I mean, we face that all the time where, how do we find this balance between the tool becoming way too powerful for the main users of our community, which are non-designers or intermediate designers or very beginner designers, versus it appealing to like the large. And we have people ask us all the time. So remember, when you have millions of users, you get a lot of feedback every day. Somebody's asking for some feature or something else. It'd be nice if it did this. And how do you find between the noise what makes sense to do? So you kind of have to put them two and two together. You just collect data, collect feedback. You put them next to each other, see if there's any correlation, and then you work on those. It's actually a pretty simple formula. If more people are asking for the same thing, you maybe makes sense to do it. Or there's something wrong with your tool if they can't reach that end result. Versus like one person asking something and then you doing it. So I think that's a one way to go.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense, because I reminds me of all the times I'm asking for feature stuff and it never comes up. So that makes sense. Maybe I'm the only one that wants that, I guess. So, but let's dive into the competition again. What do you say to people who have a startup idea and they're like cringing because they're seeing all this competition already out there, and they're thinking, you know what, maybe I shouldn't put this out there. Maybe I shouldn't follow through with this idea. What do you say to people like that?
Which idea? An idea of their own, or
yes, an idea of their own that is, say like in your example, you say like, you have like, a DIY kind of graphic play something, and there's several out there now.
Yeah,
but they think that they have this one idea that's going to be better than all of them, but they still think, how am I going to reach anybody, with my little idea change, tweak kind of thing.
So if it's something that nobody has done it before, like let's say it's a design tool and there's a ton of competition. So you're entering the monster, the monster's den, there's going to be tons. You're going to get run over, and unless you have something very different and special to do. And so that's one angle. Or you make it very, very specific towards a targeted area, then you'll have an entry point, right? So that's one way. Or I think those are the lower risk ways to do things where, hey, there's already a market and people are doing it. Knowing that, well, it's very hard to be like nobody and they come and be like number one when there's so much competition. It happens. I mean, it happens every so often. Salesforce did it. Canva in our industry has done it great with graphic design, and Apple. Well, they were one of the first, but in general, it's just a lot of companies that usually the number one players weren't the first ones that started it in business, right? Number one car company, not so much from sales, but from a market cap right now, at least, can argue it's a bubble or not, like Tesla. They're 100 years late into this, but there you go. So you have to have something very specific and special, but that people are going to want it, or there will be an audience for it, because obviously there's others in the business doing it. On the other hand, if you do something that just never existed before, just completely new industry, doesn't exist, then you're dealing with a huge amount of risk. And I think those are the more risky ones. You're either going to make it huge because you're the first into it. And again, you still have to do things right, or you're going to have a very small chance of making it. So the safer bet, which is the way I go, is that, there's an audience in this market. How can we solve it or make it easier? So that's how I would say.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that. So let's talk about this because I'm sure somebody's gonna want to hear this question answered. So I'm gonna put it out there. It's not even my notes. So
Mm-hmm.
you bootstrapped your company. Why did you take that route as opposed to finding funding when you think maybe there's a point when you probably thought you should? How about that?
Yeah. Good question. I think first of all, there's different ways of doing business, right? There's that route and there's this route. I don't think either way is wrong.
Yeah.
You do carry, I believe, a lot more risk when you go that route, the fronting route, at least early on, or at least early on, because you have to move at a certain pace and because of the pace that you have to move, often you may not be able to move at the pace that the investors want you to, or that you're able to physically accomplish. That means it's going to be a dead end eventually, and you're going to walk away with very little. You're going to be closed down eventually, or sold, acquired, whatever, for a fraction of what you really should accomplish.
Yeah.
That's one. The bootstrap route, it can actually be the safer route, but it also really limits you in terms of growth. Now, the consideration we may make one day is that the lower risk for us would be that at some point down the road, we may raise. Maybe, we don't know, whatever becomes the right opportunity. That is a safer route because you have some valuation build, you're generating some revenue and so on. So that's one route. But the other one is just a tick in me. That is where, you want to do it on your own sometimes. And that's how we started. Again, that may change, but
Okay.
it's pretty fulfilling to look back and say, wow, look at what we built so far. It's just a, step in the stepping stone of what we have to do. But we do it on our own with no outside help. So that, I think, to me feels pretty cool. But yeah, I think it also depends, again, if you start like software business.
Yeah.
It costs very little to start it, very little these days. Anybody can start a software business. It's much cheaper than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But if you want to go and manufacture cars, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. You need a lot of headway and so on. So you see, it's a little bit different from when you want to start a biotech company. You just to get FDA approval, you're gonna need $100 million. So that's a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I got 3 more questions. Hopefully we might go a little bit past 30 minutes. Hopefully, I hope that's okay.
Sure.
Do you have an onboarding strategy? I mean, I think the lifeblood, obviously, especially for a tech company, is users.
Yep.
Users and recurring users,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you have one now? Did you have one in the beginning? Is it different now? Tell us about that.
It's always changing. So I would say we're still trying to figure it out. I mean, that's the truth. Like it's working, but it's not working well enough. You're trying to figure it out. Yeah. So I mean, look, there's we are a freemium business. People start free, and then in order for us to generate, some of the users will pay for the tool if they like it enough.
Okay.
You want to get more of those users out of the bunch that are coming free, and you want to have as many of them stay longer than they would cancel. That's basically the whole way it works with with most software companies these days. So our strategy is a little bit different. You want to bring more users in. So even if your percentage doesn't change, you're still going to close more. But at the same time, you want to close some of the holes in the bucket. The challenge with our tool is that we have 2 types of users. I mean, I could go through more details, but just very, very simply put,
Sure.
We have users who are there to do one-off projects. Hey, I'm just here to create one presentation for my school, and that's it. I'm not going to need it again for another year.
Right.
They're going to pay for like a month and then may cancel, right?
Mm.
Those are not our preferred users, but we have our doors open to them. They can come and they do a lot, and they come and use the tool, and they actually generate a decent amount of our revenue, probably more of it.
Mm.
And then we have the other ones that are the businesses, companies. I need to create documents and designs and graphics and presentations and interactive things on a regular daily, weekly basis and so on. And not only me, but I also have my colleague who I want to share my design with, or he or she can use this, let's say, presentation and create her next one from, or we have this library of assets, and our brand isn't all set up in our presentation, so we're all on brand. Then we have those, the businesses, right? So we want more of those while still attaining and not alienating those that are here to just to do that. So that's the part. And we have shot ourselves in the foot a lot by still tailoring to both ends of the spectrum. Because I think we could be even more profitable and higher revenue and so on if we just strictly focus on businesses and nobody else. But I didn't start this tool just about making money. I started this tool because I wanted, and the team here wants everybody to be able to create different things. So our doors are open to both sides while we are tailoring our focus towards each of them in a different way. So the onboarding is different from one to the other. Depends on the use case.
That's great. Okay, that's awesome. I understand that. Have you guys ever thought about doing a different company, a premium kind of thing with a different name? That's all. I'm just dropping that out there.
Yeah. Sure, it's crossed the mind, but you know what? The answer is no, because it's one brand. It's not, it costs money to build a brand and maintain it, support it, and all that other stuff. So it's one, but we have different plans. We have a business plan, we have a standard plan, we have enterprise plan. So it's the same tool. It's just that certain things open and lock in. But no, it's still based on a freemium model. And again, we're experimenting with things. Things may change over time. We've done different things and see which one works better. But so far, freemium is we can get people into an entry point and then migrate them up.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So a couple more questions. Why? I think you might have already answered this, but just in summation, why do startups fail?
Well, if I was to reading an article, I can't remember the name of it, and many of them have been rewritten. One of them was internal issues. One of the reasons a lot fail is internal problems and conflicts. Other ones, again, they have to do with running out of, funds and not being able to find a market fit and so on and so on. Look, for any business, there is a risk that at one point or another, there's a possibility that they could fail at any given time. Like the major disaster and so on. Those are possible for any company. In general, though, the more common, I think, reasons and so on usually is, you eventually either the motivating factor runs out. If you're small, it depends. If you're small, you don't have a market fit, you can't grow, generate users and get subscriptions or generate revenue. So that's one. Sometimes, it can be others. But I think that, having a product that nobody wants or software or service, whatever it is, not many people want, or they're very unhappy with it. That's eventually a failure for success. Formula for failure. Another one would be when I talked about planning earlier, I don't mean like don't plan, but have a plan that is subject to adjustment and changes. And if you're just setting your ways and say, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be, and no matter what, this is how we have to do it. And then their signs are there. And if you don't, eventually you're going to get run over. So that's how I would explain it.
Awesome. So I got two more questions. I want to tell people again, why Visme? Why should I use your tool? Because this feel like you need to say it again if you haven't said it already. Why use your tool as opposed to, like you say, Canva or Get Stencil or all the other ones, Crello, all the other ones out there?
So I would classify, I think all great tools, I would classify those as more of a design tool, as a graphic tool.
Okay.
Even though they have the ability to create some other types of things, it's very dumbed down for those. But they do a great job for just very basic, quick little graphics you want to get. With Visme, you could do all of that, but then you can also do so much more. If you want to create a full-fledged presentation or document, and you want it to be as interactive as you want or as simple as you want it to be, Visme allows you to do that. If you want to be able to track engagement, how many people are viewing which page or which slide and for how long, we have the tools in our business plan to do that. We give you the complete set to be able to set your branding guidelines. We go as far as allowing you to save individual slides so they can reuse them later. We give you the ability, as you use the tool more, it gets more and more productive for you because you can save little components, not just images or icons, but blocks of content, groups of objects, so you can reuse them in another design later. And the list goes on. So, it's basically where, you want to have, you want to have both sides of the spectrum. You want to have simplicity and the power when you need it. That's what Visme is. And that's why we're working so hard, is to give you the best of both worlds. And that's where we come into play. And I think the best way is for people to really just use our tool and try a couple other ones, and then just dig deep. With ours, on the surface, the learning curve is just a tad more than others, not a lot. But if you go and give it 5-10 extra minutes than the other tools, you're going to be very pleased with all the different things you're going to find behind it. So I could go on, but let's leave it at just those, because there's more.
I think that's a lot. Yeah, I understand. I understand. It's a full-fledged tool, the graphic tool. So one last question then. Payman, I really appreciate it. This has been great, actually. Wonderful to have you on here. So one last question, access of all of my guests. It goes something like this. There are people who are watching right now, people will be listening later, and they have similar goals, similar interests. They have startup ideas that they want to, have a bunch of users, using their tools, recurring users, rather, should I say, paying recurring users, more so. And they want to do the things that you're doing. They want to, have a startup like yours, where it's going in the trending direction, going in the right direction. Can you tell them, and I'll put you front and center, can you tell them, just in your own words, how they can become an authority in this space?
Well, first, you have to be pretty damn good at it. And that takes, that rule of spend 10,000 hours doing something to be really, really good at it. I was doing design for about 10, 11 years before I got into creating a design tool, in essence, right? So that's number one. And then 2, it's not going to come overnight, right? You have to really work at it, and you're going to lose a lot of sleep at it. And you have to keep just look for tiny little signs of life, and then work on those. So yeah, I would put it in those words.
That is perfect. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard something like that in a while. Like, you have to be good at it. You have to be good at what you do, right?
Yeah.
And start there. That's amazing.
And you're not good at what you do to begin with. I mean, so you start somewhere, and then, but all I'm saying is that it takes a lot of time and effort to get really good at something, and I think that's the thing I see some people say is that, well, I'm not good at anything.
Right.
You're not. Maybe you're not good at anything because A, you don't have the confidence, and 2, you actually didn't spend enough time in doing something, whatever it is. Yeah. It takes a lot of work, and you get better at it. And then when it gets a lot more fun as you get better at it, you know what I mean? Pretty simple rule. Hard to do, but pretty simple.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. Great stuff, man. Payman, can you tell us where you want people to go after the show? How about that?
Well, they could go to visme.com or visme.co. Either way is us. Go in there, create a free account, play around with it, see what you want. That's what you like to do. And also, for those of you that don't even want to use the tool, you just want to become better presenters and so on, we have a free course that is free for everybody to use. And there should be a little banner at the top of our site. Doesn't matter. You go to our blog or website, and you can take this little presentation course that is packed with videos and so on, and is absolutely free. There's nothing behind it. And, one of my colleagues, Mike, walks you through these short 4 or 5 minute videos, how to create better, impactful presentations so that you can become a better presenter in person and also on screen, and the end result of the presentation you create, and how you can connect your audience, engage with them, and so on. It's a pretty neat thing. And you actually get a certificate. You can drop it right on your LinkedIn and so on, that you've been Visme certified. So that's another thing you can do. And when you want to connect with me, get on LinkedIn. You will not find another person with the same first name and last name. So I'll be easy to find.
Awesome. Can I stick in one last question before we get out of here?
I will invoice you for that one, but let's do it.
Okay. What is your take on LTDs? It seems like it's becoming much more popular now. What's your take on that?
LTD. Tell me what that stands
for. Lifetime deals.
Oh,
to
lifetime deals.
yeah, to
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
kind
So
of
like
boost your
AppSumo,
start
like
from the
apps.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly.
AppSumo. Well, we did an AppSumo deal, which is one of the lifetime deals years ago. I have
Okay.
regrets and I have likes and regrets on it.
Okay.
And not, it's the regrets would be is, hey, you're giving a piece of your software to a certain group of people forever, and you will ever have to serve them and take care of them and so on. So yeah, it's a one-time thing. However, for traction, I think it's pretty good. It could be good for you to get your foot through the door and get some feedback, but only do it when you're really ready. And don't do it because you're there to say, oh my God, I'm gonna make X amount of dollars. It could almost be a little funding that you do, but just know that it's not free funding.
Yeah.
What I mean is that you're gonna get something, but you're
Mm.
gonna have to take care of users and time to support those users and software time in exchange for what they're going to give you. So my story on that would be is, it depends on the type of service you provide. If your service requires a lot of hand-holding or a lot of support and so on, then or high touch, if it's a high touch product, then I would 100% not really recommend those, because you're going to have to take care of those users for a long time. However, it's more something that it's more of a giveaway and it's going to be very low touch, then sure, that could be a good avenue to explore as a one-time thing.
Awesome. And Cindy's calling, commenting in the name of your guest, please. Tell them your name.
Payman, Payman.
Yes.
And you can also type that right.
Oh, yeah. Payman Taei.
Yep.
And I know people kind of get your name not too correct all the time, but
that's okay. Close enough.
Yeah. But awesome stuff. I appreciate you coming through here. This has been great, man. I'm gonna relook at your Visme again, because this has been fascinating. Because I think I'm missing some things that I want from a graphic tool for sure. So I'm glad at least for me, hopefully for everybody else too, can relook at Visme again, because I think it's
we've come a long way. It's a year ago. We have users that dropped into the new version we launched in late last year, and very different than what it was before. So lots of stuff in the pipeline.
Awesome. I love it. And Germany's taking very interesting discussion. So you're popular today, my friend. I appreciate it.
Cool. Hey, that's Prince. Look, I see the avatar. Prince. Yeah.
So I am good. Just everybody, I want to wish everybody still a happy new year. It's still kind of early in January, so happy new year. And go ahead and sign up at theauthorityletter.com. I am writing every week to you guys to help you build your authority platform. I have a 3-part video series as well. Get on that if you can. And I'm gonna get some very deep stuff in those letters each week. So get on that for sure. And I am good. Hey, this has been great. I appreciate you, Payman. Any last words before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it, man. I mean, have a good year, and hopefully it'll be different than the last one.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Build it, share it, and they will come. Thank you so much, and be blessed. We're out.
Awesome.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway, or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.